to the
serving
regular
stuff.
meeting.
Right.
Then if we get something good, it's
Well, cool.
the kids want
Bill, you don't need this
something.
one.
I haven't heard any confirmation, but that's what I,
Radical you want to hear, but
In City Hall or at
if she's not here, you get it.
effective May 1st.
welcome to Special Guthrie's Public Works Authority Workshop. Leroy, you want to take over?
I will. Kim, would you dim the lights?
Oops, there we go.
What I'm going to try to do tonight is, this is kind of pre-planning or prelude to our annual city council retreat. And of course, to maybe give some updates in history to our new council member as well. So tonight, what I want to do, if I turn this on. Tonight, I want to talk about the water distribution main valve replacement. We talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to go in more detail tonight. If we have time, I'm going to talk about the Congress has now reinstituted a program they call community project funding, what we used to commonly refer as the earmark, and the projects that we proposed for earmarking. At our next meeting, a question on Tuesday, May 11th, from 9 to 12, we have city council orientation. Several council members, well, everybody except for Tracy, our new member, has been to orientation at least once. I don't want to print out 8 books if we're not going to have 8 people there. What's your all's thoughts as far as attendance at the orientation on Tuesday, May 11th? It's going to be the same thing you've heard before. Let us know.
I can't make it. Sounds like it's you.
I mean, we can do, just meet with Tracy, because he's the only one that's not heard it. We just need to know whether we need to call an agenda and do a meeting or not.
So far, I have Councilman Channel and the mayor also wanting
Okay,
to attend.
so what we will do is we will post an agenda. Once we find out if we're not going to have a quorum, then we won't do it as a public meeting. We'll just do it with a committee of the council. Okay? But let us know so we don't have to print out a bunch of books. It's just go get tracked.
Well, I'm not gonna be there if he's not. Are you?
No.
He's not.
I think all of you ought to be.
If James isn't, then you don't have a quorum.
Yeah. Okay. We can double check to make sure. On the next regular meeting night, May 18th, plan to have a 6 p.m. special workshop to talk about the Economic Development Administration grant applications. EDA has $3 billion under the new CARES Act. I can't even remember the name of the new act, but to distribute, and we want to propose some grant applications under that. We'll go through those on Tuesday, June 1st, have another workshop before that meeting to talk about trash rates, convenience center rates, and versus what we are charged by Waste Connections, solid waste for collection and disposal rates. And then talk about youth sports facilities, look at a potential hotel tax rate increase and what that would mean and other funding opportunities. And then on the 15th, we will have another workshop at 6. There's a new state statute that allows us to do a public safety protection district where we can levy up to 5 mills within the city limits, and it doesn't include industrial property or farm zone property, but we can levy if we have to have a 60% yes vote of the citizens to levy it, if the council decides to pursue it. But that would be money through property taxes for equipment for police, fire, and EMS. and we'll talk about that on the 15th. On the 16th, or on July 6th, don't have a topic yet for that. On the 20th, I don't have a topic. And then, of course, August 3rd, we will have at 6 p.m. our budget workshop on the FY 2022 budget. And all that leads up to Friday, August 13th from 9 to 4 when we do our annual retreat. Okay. Water main and valve replacement. We've been through this to some degree. Pre-1975, we got 293,000 linear feet, or roughly almost 56 miles of water line that predate 1975. And that doesn't include the water main to Langston University and the city of Cole. So that's roughly 55 miles of water line that's 50 years old. A lot of it, the line that we worked on Division, the last big water break, that line was put in 1920s. So we have some that are 100 years old. Since 1995, we replaced roughly 2.5 miles of water line, or 4.5%. Well, if we, every 25 years, only replace 4.5%, we'll never go replace all our old lines. So we're going to have to do something and get on a more aggressive program. Now, we have started with our utility system. We did fund our wastewater treatment plant, which is a $20.6 million investment. So we have got started, but that's pretty much used our existing revenue source. Talk about the exposure or the experience we had back on February 18th. That 12-inch water main installed in 1920s. We were losing just under 2,000 gallons a minute. So we lost about between 11,000 and 14,000 gallons of treated water during that leak. But even a bigger problem is because that line's so old, the shutoff valves don't work. If you can't shut off at the end of each block or a designated area, then you have to go to a wider area and shut off more of town. And in this particular case, we had to shut the water plant down to bleed it down. And the other option, of course, is to do it live, which we don't have the equipment to do because we don't have those size pumps. The last time we had a water leak, we did go rent a larger pump and ended up doing it live with the water running, which is a little more challenging. To go back just for a minute, also a problem with the aging lines that I didn't touch on is the buildup of sediment of minerals. As you can see, the amount of buildup we have in these lines, this is one of the 1920 lines down by the water plant. When we have water leaks that disturb these lines, it stirs up these minerals, and that's when we get odor, color, taste issues, and then we end up flushing the lines. Well, there's no way to get rid of that unless you replace that line.
The last comment you made there,
Yes.
that last page,
Yes.
about the wastewater, you're just using that to say that that's why we don't have the money to work on the water lines, right? One's water lines and the other wastewater.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll go through that a little more. So if you look at the 55 miles of water lines, it's pretty much the entire town. If you look at the blue, covers the whole town. So we can't do them all at once anyway. We'd have the whole town tore up. Now we will do a thing called pipe bursting where we won't actually trench. A lot of them, there's places that we can just burst the pipe and dig down and go through the pipe rather than trench everywhere.
Repipe type deal?
Yeah, you just burst them and shove them through. To replace those 55 miles, we had the engineer do a cost estimate for us. It's about a $31.5 million project. So it's a major undertaking. And that does not include any major repairs or replacement of water towers. That's just the 55 miles of water lines that predate 1975 and all the valves. We had applied earlier this year for a CDBG grant to replace the 12-inch water main along Division from the water plant to Harrison Avenue. On that one, the CDBG grant is just under $300,000, and that's probably the maximum grant we can get in 1 year. Local match would be $585,000 for a total project of just over $885,000. Our match will come under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, which is the follow-up to the CARES Act. We are estimated, there's been $1.8 million set aside for the city of Guthrie. We will get that direct. We should get half of it this year, half of it next year, if it works like it's supposed to. That money is eligible for water and sewer infrastructure. So after we do this $600,000 for this project, we'd have about 1.2 left to match other grants. But still, that's not going to get $30 million worth of work done, but it will at least get us started. Just to show you, we went over this in our retreat last year. People think, well, we passed the CIP sales tax, so we should have enough money to do everything. CIP sales tax, depending on what you use as far as projections, if we use the 4-year average of the full 4 years we have, by 2031, that sales tax, which runs to 2031, we would generate about $19.5 million. If we use a 2% growth rate, we would generate $22 million. If we estimate a 3% growth rate, it would be $23 million. Of course, you don't have $23 million or $19 million today. That's money coming in over the next roughly 10 years. So if you wanted to spend it today, you'd have to go borrow it, which would cost you interest. But if you look at the projects that we have already either completed or committed to, you've got $18 million of projects already committed to. And the wastewater treatment plant, $4 million is coming out of the CIP to go towards the wastewater treatment plant. Some of it we've spent on engineering already, and some of it will go towards debt service as we pay off our bonds. We set aside $4.4 million for industrial park. If we are successful in getting a grant from EDA with their $3 billion that they have to give out, that's an 80% grant. So that would be a little over $3 million that we would get in grant. So it would reduce that from our money from 4.3 to a little over $1 million. So that would give us money to either match other grants, to do other infrastructure work, or reassign to other things. But first we got to get the grant. And then we have money over each year. We try to set aside money for an overlay program on streets. So there's not money in the CIP sales tax plan to replace water lines. Right. From our revenue source we have now, if you look at our wastewater treatment plant, it's a $20 million project. And we actually, to finance it, had 17.6 budgeted. we did a deal where we kind of did our own loan to ourselves to make up the $3 million difference, kind of bridge financing. Our plan is in January, because we're limited, we can only borrow $8 million each budget calendar year. So in January, we will come back and take out this bridge financing and do another $3 million bond under OWRB, and our revenue source to pay that off will be CMOM funds. So we don't really have any revenue stream in our current rate structure to pay for $31 million of water line. If you look at our financing plan, over on the right, that's the balance of the $4 million coming out of the CIP. We're projecting taking revenue out of the operating fund each year. As these 4 bond issues are retired, this is the water plant. When that's retired, the money we're using to pay that bond issue will switch over and go to payments towards the wastewater treatment plant. The bond issue for the line to Langston, when it's paid off in 2025, if I remember the dates right, then our debt service that we're paying for that will then go towards the bond issue. So all of our current bond issues, that debt service, once it's paid off, is committed to go towards the bond issue for wastewater treatment plant. So we do not have any money in the CIP. We don't have any money in our current rate structure to replace $31 million of water line. Another thing that, we didn't have a lot of choice to, but it affected us, and I put this in for our new councilman because I don't know whether you'd be aware or not, but back in 2016, when the city did the settlement agreement with rural water, of course, we had to pay a lump sum settlement of $900,000 as part of that settlement. That doesn't include all the legal fees we paid. And then we had to install master meters to separate the customers we give them from our old customers. That was $700,000 plus or minus. We gave up 423 customers that we were serving up to that point of the settlement agreement. And if you take the difference between our retail rate and now what we get when we sell that same amount of water to rural water at a wholesale rate, our revenue dropped to $154,000 a year. It just happened. And that was a settlement lawsuit. But it did have an impact on our revenue stream, is all I'm trying to get across. Not trying to blame anybody or stir anything up. Just want to make sure everybody knows that did have an impact on our revenue stream. There is, as we talked about now this year, several years ago, about 10 I think, Congress decided to do away with what was called earmarking, where they received direct funds. So if there was a water bill, they might put in, for example, Guthrie, $31 million for water lines. And you wouldn't have to apply to any federal agency. That money would come direct to you for that project. Remember the bridge in Alaska to nowhere? That was an earmark. And Congress has now reinstituted that program. They're calling it community project funding. It's very competitive. Whether we get any of that earmarked money or not it's not a high percentage, but you don't get it if you don't go after it. Normally larger towns, we've experienced that before with ACOG funds and stuff. Normally, those kind of funds go direct to larger communities, military installations, and then the money we have to go after is the pool of money that they do, like they may give EDA money, or they may give USDA money. And then we have to apply to them in a pool of money that's budgeted rather than money directly given to us. But we do want to go after the earmarks, and those are in play right now. So that's potentially one source of money. And then, of course, with President Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure plan, they recently in the Senate passed the Drinking Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Act. But in this plan that's in process, it's not been budgeted, there's $56 billion for modernizing water systems. So it may go to USDA, it may go to OWRB, but they will get pots of money that we can apply for, and we'll want to apply for those grants. So that's another potential funding source. But if we don't get outside funding, I just quickly had our finance people look at, if you did 10 million, 20 million, or $31 million bond issue, on a 30-year bond issue, 10 million, you're with debt service, your annual debt would be $518,000 for 30 years to pay that off. If it's at if you presume about 3% interest rate, if you just took 3,407 water customers, everybody's bill would go up $12 if you looked at a flat fee. Now, of course, we would do it in the rate structure, but at this point, it was kind of silly to do a new rate structure for this because we don't know exact numbers. If you did the whole 31 million at 3%, it would be almost $40 per month per customer. And then, of course, if you did 2%. So that's a major undertaking. But at some point as a city, we're going to have to decide if we can't get earmark money or money through the infrastructure program the president is trying to fund through Congress. At some point, we're going to have to look at funding it ourselves. And so those are something that we need to talk about at our retreat. What's our strategy going to be? That's all I have on the replacing our water mains in our valves. I'd be glad to answer questions. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to talk about the funding we went after under the earmark program. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Again, this is money that's dedicated federal funds for specific projects by working directly with Congress. Very competitive. We don't know if we got a chance in H of getting it, but we might as well pursue it because somebody's going to get it. Each House member can propose up to 10 projects in each appropriation bill, and there's about 10 appropriation bills. Senate, similar. On April 13th, we met with the field reps for our congressional delegation to discuss possible projects. And we had 5 projects that we presented for consideration for earmarking money. Of course, the first one was the water infrastructure that we just talked about, replacing the 56 miles of water mains that predate 1975. We presented 2 road projects, Sooner Road and Southwest 19th Street. 2 options, one full depth reconstruction, the other one is more limited and just to resurface and rehabilitate. Third project we presented was relocate the youth baseball complex out of the floodplain. The fourth was construction of new aquatic center. And fifth was construction of a second fire EMS station. On road improvements, again, we proposed Sooner Road and 19th. Sooner Road from the city limits, 300 feet south of Seward to US 77 or Division, and 19th Street from the west city limits to Noble. As you can see, we all know the condition of Sooner Road and why it needs to be replaced, so I won't read all these, but it is a project that needs to be done. If you do a full depth reconstruction, you're looking at about $3.8 million. Well, if we set aside $300,000 or $400,000 a year out of CIP to do road projects, you're going to have to save up for a number of years to do a $3.8 million project. You're not going to do any other overlay projects. Resurface, rehabilitate saves you a little bit, but we would propose doing full reconstruction and do it right.
When was that built? Do you know?
When was it built? It was,
Because it was originally a Model T road.
it was originally US 77, and it was deeded to the city. Whenever the state and federal Department of Transportation build new highways and interstate, they've got so many mile lanes. And so what they do is they build like a new interstate, then they give the city the mile lanes that are inside their city limits. So we inherited that road when they did I-35. So that's been a number of years ago. And so.
That's just when we inherited it. I bet it was built in the 20s.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And what we found in other towns when we inherited state highways, sometimes there was not adequate drainage under them when they built, so they're maintenance nightmares. And so it does create problems when you have poor drainage. So reconstruction would be the best bet. 19th Street, again, you can read it at your leisure, but we tried, and this was State Highway 33 at one time. Then 33 was rerouted, so again, we inherited this one. Full reconstruction of this is about $2.5 million. So we've asked for both of those for consideration. The third thing that we talked to our representatives from our congressional delegation is funds to replace or to move the youth baseball complex from the floodplain in Cottonwood Flats to a different location outside the floodplain. And you can see this is the 2018 flood. There is some money Department of Commerce got from FEMA from 2018 to do some floodplain projects. We're still waiting for them to do a notice of funded availability on those funds. And we will pursue those funds if it's eligible to help pay for this project. But if you look at the history, the one in 2019 crested at 27 feet. That was our 8th highest crest. The highest one was back in 1983 where it reached 30 feet. But if you look at the history, it's not once every 10 years. I mean, look at 2017, it happened twice. 2007, look how many times it crested in 2007 above flood stage. So it's a reoccurring event. It's not like every 10 years you have to rebuild everything. So we have developed a master plan for baseball and softball fields out by the hospital, Academy Road. This is existing softball fields, and this is the area that we got the $1 million Land and Water Conservation Fund for, to build these 3 new fields, to get those started. I'll go in more detail when we get to the point we're talking at the meeting that we talk about sports complexes. What we would like to do is each of these existing fields, upgrade those and come up with a plan for each one of them and go to corporate sponsors and name that field after the corporate sponsor, Paycom Field, for example, or others, to upgrade these 3 existing fields. This is the baseball complex. And so again, this is the area that was the $1 million with our $1 million match. This is the new part we will be building. The baseball fields, when we get funding, it's construct 6 new fields, new concession stand, parking lots, interroad. I would point out, we are doing the softball fields first because that was the collective wisdom of our sports authority that we put together, advisory committee. But those softball fields, while they're built for softball, they will be constructed a way you can play baseball on them in the interim while we're trying to figure out how to fund the baseball fields. So they're not left out entirely. But that's about a $5 million project. And so we asked funding for that. The fourth one was replace our aquatic center at Highland Park. It was built in the 1940s. I've not seen a definite date. I don't think it was WPA project. There's no WPA emblems on it. It appears that it was done in the 40s. Worked with a engineering firm out of Kansas City that specializes in aquatic center. This is a sample of aquatic center they did in another community. Maintenance issues we have, of course, we have to do about 40,000 gallons to make up water every day. Not only does it cost you water, it costs you the chemicals to treat the water, and as you can see, the spalling that we have going on with the concrete, it's so soft that you can just push your finger through it. And we have to repatch that every year to reopen. And our aquatic center or swimming pool, I call it a cement pond, in Highland Park, is getting close to its age limit, its useful life. The new aquatic center that we proposed under this plan is about a $5 million project. It would have a capacity for 500 people. It would have a 0 depth entry, which is the type of facility that kids and users like to have today. They don't necessarily want just a deep pool. They enjoy it from a recreational standpoint as much as they do swimming laps. It'd have 2 water slides, lap lanes, 2 diving boards, a children area, and a concession area. The last one we proposed was a second fire EMS station. Since the city has adopted or annexed back in 1972 the south end of the community, that area has developed a lot since 1972. Mission Hills, health clinic. Now we're seeing BOTAC. Mission Hills, we're looking at a subdivision plat coming in before long that would do roughly, is it about 300?
307.
New houses. We've got 3 more subdivisions that we're working with that are looking at coming in with subdivision plats for 3 more subdivisions inside the city limits. So the demand for fire and EMS is getting a heavier load. and we serve the city limits of one rural fire district. On EMS, we serve about 2/3 of the county. Our county between 2000 and 2010 grew about 24%. We're one of the fastest growing counties in the state. Between 2010 and 2019, 14%. So the demand on our EMS service is growing as well. The National Fire Protection Association, first engine arrival on scene should not exceed 4 minutes for 90% of the responses. With our current station that we have, we cannot meet that standard within our city limits, let alone our rural fire district. ISO rating, standard 5 road mile maximum travel distance from the fire station. Anything beyond 5 miles is considered a class 10, which is basically no fire protection. We currently have numerous residential and commercial areas outside of that 5-mile rule. So it costs them more for their fire insurance. What we're looking at is 3.5 for a fire station, fire EMS station, plus another 400,000 if we put a fire training facility along with it. And that's it. Those are the projects. Now, whether we have any chance of getting those and it's just pie in the sky and we're dreaming, we don't know yet. We won't know. If we don't go after it, we won't get the funding.
You don't get what you don't ask for.
Correct.
I do have a question though, on the
Yes.
fire station. If
Yes.
you do put in another fire station, where are you thinking about doing that? Have you given that any thought yet, or is it just?
We have, but I don't know that we want to disclose the
Okay,
various
okay.
locations because when the city identifies a site, it seems to affect the price.
Okay, all righty. Anybody questions?
Is this a good way to, as a prelude to the retreat, to get some of this information before you so that when we go to the retreat, we don't have to spend all morning doing this? You already have these.
That's a great idea, 'cause then we have a chance to look at it a little bit.
Correct. And then maybe we can have a little more productive retreat that way. That's all I have for workshop.
Good job, Leroy.
Thank you. I guess that's it. Guthrie Public Works Authority meeting,
You can't do nothing for 20 minutes.
can't start for another 20 minutes.
That's right.
For how long?
20 minutes.
Can't start till 7.
Gotten fired up, Jim.
Golly.
Unbelievable. Amazing. I tried 3 different ones. It's almost like each one was just made. Like it feels like they just came out of the oven.
My husband's from here, and so when I moved here a few years ago, he's like, you gotta try Missy's. They're just always so fresh. That's what I love about them. So I know that they are getting up early and making them all fresh. So they're always just warm and yummy. So I had to bring my dad here too while he was in town.
I'm a retired firefighter, so I market 1-800 board up to all the fire departments in the metro area. And so I take lemon, blueberry sweetbreads from Missy. That's what I do, every one of them. And I've done this for about a year. So every firefighter in Oklahoma City knows about Missy's donuts and Missy's sweetbreads. They all ask me, where did you get this at? When I was a young firefighter, we would eat about anything. The younger guys, when we were hiring them, now you got these guys that are healthy eaters, they're big and strong and slim, and even those guys say, man, I don't eat stuff like that, but I eat that when you bring it in because it's so good. So it's fun for me. I get to in all the fire stations and talk to all the firefighters.
Brad and I have been making donuts 28 years. We started in Newkirk, and we had a shop in Newkirk and Ponca, then we had a shop in Stillwater, and then we ended up here in Guthrie. Every day it is fresh. We have a lunch menu, we make our own bread, we chop our own beef, we make our own chicken salad that we make every day. Of course, we offer the ham and the turkey. We do patty melts now, which have become a pretty big hit, and the homemade fries.
The juicy chicken enchilada soup, we sell tons of it, but everything else you can just kick rocks at. People love it.
You can buy the breads to go. We do the breads for the sandwiches, which is white wheat and multigrain, every day. And then we have the sweet breads, the lemon blueberry, which is a favorite of everyone's. Other than the glaze, we have the Long Johns, we do the fried cinnamon rolls, we have twists. We can fill a Long John, which is very common. The cake donuts, the blueberry is the favorite, and they are exceptional. Old fashions, you know, cinnamon, sugar, those typical, yeah.
I was at a softball tournament. I have granddaughters that play tournament ball in Chickasha. 1,000 people there. And I'm just walking between fields, and a guy stops me and shakes my hand, and I didn't know who he was. He said, "Man, thank you for bringing those." It was a firefighter from one of the Oklahoma City stations. I don't even know where. It was, "Man, we love that stuff. Thanks for bringing that to us." They usually meet me at the door if they see me coming. They'll be standing there with the door open. "Is that Missy's?" "Yeah."
I got started in the film industry about 5 years ago when my friends and I at Bowling Point Media decided we wanted to make a film here in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma crew and talent is on par with crew and talent anywhere else in the country. When people come out from Los Angeles or anywhere else, they say, you know, "Wow, you guys are really good." And one thing that I've learned when I go out to Los Angeles, there's no difference between them and us. They're just there and we're here. The talent here is just as good. And my experience working with the Oklahoma Film and Music Office has really been incredible. They were super nice, very helpful. It was really cool to have the Oklahoma Film and Music Office helping us become more professional. We had to do things in a certain way to qualify for the rebate program, which in turn grew our productions because we were more organized, we were more professional, and it really helped us in that way a lot.
The Guthrie Artist Showcase is brought to you by Gary Good of the Guthrie Retreat, Magnolia Moon, and Gallery, Grazioso. For more information, go to GuthrieRetreat.com.
Hi, I'm Z. Peltz. I'm the next artist in the Guthrie Artist Showcase series. Well, I was born in Britton, Oklahoma, just south of Guthrie, so I've been around these parts my whole life, basically. I'm a sign writer in the old tradition, and we're going to show you just what that means. This ghost sign is one of the first projects I did when I moved to Guthrie. Todd Rasmussen helped me. We used a big roll-up scaffold to get up there. Coyle and Smith Wholesale Grocers, and we repainted the tin facade and the antique bed and breakfast sign and the red stone sign there. Did Byron Berline signs here, sealed with the kiss up the street, Arts Center sign across the street, the YMCA sign. About 25 years ago, me and my crew built that Pollard sign. We hung a gondola off the roof and all got up there and constructed that and painted it and hung it. I made this for them a couple years ago, and they really like it. And it's one of my favorite signs.
Z. Peltz is quite an artist and a cool character, and you see his legacy all over town on signs. He's such an artist.
I've had Z do a lot of things over the years. He did a lot of these big signs on the walls of the buildings downtown, but I had hired him to do a painting in my restaurant. That one in the far back room where the old wall is, he took that from an old photograph.
This photograph shows a celebration of the opening of the first paved road between Guthrie and Oklahoma City.
He would come and paint when I had while they were eating. And people loved it. They liked to watch him paint, and he didn't care. He would entertain them. And it helped business, and you would have thought, a lot of people didn't want to work in someone's business while they were occupied, but he did. And he did a good job.
I approach the sign painting, for instance, more from a craftsman point of view than an artist, even, because it involves a lot of graphics and stuff. And I'm amazed at sign painters that are expert, that do masterful work, because you're an acrobat, you're a carpenter, you've got to get things square and straight and plumb, and so there's a lot to sign painting that isn't what an artist would normally develop. There's that big mural at the corner of Division and Harrison. That's probably the most fun and the most demanding and the hardest and the most rewarding. Even when it's finished, it's hard to quit because you got into a rhythm of working on it almost every day. I thought, since that's one of the most visual spaces in Guthrie, it lends itself to promoting all these activities and these festivals and things. And so I know the feeling when I'm finally finished and I can breathe a sigh of relief. And sometimes there's a feeling of completion, because my experience has been some of my best ideas come after I've almost finished.
Yeah, I met him when I first came here.
Really?
In '95.
So you had him doing signs for you?
He did this.
Uh-huh.
That's
And
good.
that.
And that big one around on
Oh
the
yeah,
side.
did you see the one on there? That really shows up. He's done everything. My little sign here, opens.
Yeah.
You flip it over, it says "Gone Fiddling." Right?
I've always been so busy painting that I didn't have time to do much else, and I'm starting to have more time to work on the music. Mockingbird in a mulberry tree, and he's singing so loud, seems like he is saying to me, don't get lost in the crowd, just find your song that you love and sing it your way. Don't let anybody else in the world tell you what you can say. I know I got no one else to blame, that I feel like I do, but listening to that little mockingbird is making me blue. I'm Z Peltz. Hope you enjoyed the Guthrie Artist Showcase. It was a lot of fun bringing it to you. You need to get hold of me as a sign writer. Information will be on the bottom of the screen. Thank you. See you around.
So excited
excited. We kicked off the 2021 year with brand new equipment here in our facility. We were able to bring in and replace all of our cardio equipment, replace our Les Mills equipment inside of our studio. So that's been a huge boost for our facility and for the members of the Guthrie community. And we're excited for the opportunity to get new equipment here. We'll be getting some new dumbbells in. Those are still to come. We got a few new pieces in our weight room. So all of those things have really just enhanced our membership experience here at the Guthrie YMCA. Membership, health and wellness, we want to kick people off the right way with the healthy lifestyle. And so, you know, our fitness equipment is absolutely at the top of those priorities. And then we also here at the Y, you know, we're more than just the gym. You know, we offer youth and family programming before and after school care. We offer youth sports. We have group exercise classes, like I said, from the Healthy Living. When the city pool's open this summer, the YMCA runs that for swim lessons and water exercise classes. We have a lot to offer here at the Y, and we know this new equipment's a big boost, but we're more than just a gym. We're excited to be able to offer what we can to the Guthrie community. We'll never turn anybody away due to the inability to pay. We do provide financial assistance, so if you're needing scholarship dollars or anything of that sort that come from our annual campaign, we would love to have you come in our building and for us to be able to help you, your family, anyone that's in need in our community out. That's what we're here for. Is we're a community-based organization, and we're here to serve all, and that will always be the last part of our mission, is for all. And we hope to continue to be a staple here in the Guthrie community to help folks live a healthier, happier lifestyle.
As we venture back out, let's reclaim our common ground, rediscover the land we call home, and rekindle our sense of wonder. When we travel Oklahoma, we strengthen Oklahoma. Okay, here we go.
Birthplace of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in Oklahoma. On October 4th, 1899, William L. Eagleton, Grand Master of Masons for Oklahoma Territory, laid a cornerstone at this site for the construction of the first Scottish Rite Masonic Temple in Oklahoma. The temple occupied the south half of this block and boasted a larger auditorium, stage, and proscenium than the Brooks Opera House, also located in downtown Guthrie. It was fitted with all the modern improvements, including electric lights. The architect for the building was D.W.F. Turbeville, Oklahoma City. The dedication reunion of the Guthrie Scottish Rite bodies was held on May 29th through 31st, 1900. A class of 47 candidates emerged as 32nd degree Masons, thus launching what would become one of the largest Scottish Rite Masonic organizations in the United States. In 1920, a new edifice was constructed by the Scottish Rite at 900 East Oklahoma Avenue. The first Scottish Rite Temple in Oklahoma was finally raised in 1956.
I think Oklahoma is kind of the hidden gem of the music and film community. So everyone that comes here, we use a lot of the local music in our films too, and they were like so impressed with our soundtrack and the license tracks we use from local bands. And so even if people, animators we bring in from out of state and they come here, they're like, oh, Oklahoma has this going on and this going on. People are always so surprised of like all the cool, rad stuff going on in Oklahoma. I'm very passionate about our local artists and local music here in Oklahoma. So yeah, like in a Post-Human project, we had 13 licensed tracks. They're all from local artists. So no matter where we went, whether it was in Oklahoma or New York or Japan, like everyone was so surprised and like loved the soundtrack, the licensed tracks that we use in the film, and it was all local artists. The amount of like art and creativity that's coming from Oklahoma, it's exploding.
It's time to look forward. And in Oklahoma, there's plenty to look forward to, like being together in spaces that set us apart, and picking our spots where fun literally jumps up to meet you. Places that give us room to reflect, that we can share with the people we enjoy most. What are you looking forward to? Find it right here. Ready? Okay, here we go.
Call to order. Guthrie Works Public Authority meeting Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. Community announcements and recognitions. I don't have anything. Do you have anything? I thought I was going to do that during the meeting.
No, do it right now.
All right, well, let's stop there then. You'll join, Tracy's going to give us a pledge. You'll join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, be with us this evening. Guide our hands, our minds. Help us to better serve our community and bring our community together. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, now community announcements and recognition. I don't have anything. Anybody else have anything? Consent agenda, approve awarding bid number 2021-01, grass management services to Tenny Maker and Richard Martin, Guthrie, Oklahoma, and authorize the mayor to execute a contract.
Wrong agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We're on the 66.
Yeah, we're on the wrong one.
65.
You're on the wrong agenda.
I did it in the wrong one. Give me your paper. We had this planned out, remember?
I tried to give it to you. You asked me aside.
All right. Discussion and possible.
I'll take that back.
Approve the minutes of Public Work Authority meeting held on April 6th of 2021. Discussion and possible action, excuse me, that's it, on consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Raise your right.
All opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action on approving resolution 2021-10 authorizing an application for a Phase 1 high hazard potential dams grant from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board.
We approved earlier submitting this application, but this is housekeeping. They wanted us to have a resolution to go along with the application. And that's what we're doing tonight is a resolution to approve something you already authorized.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. That's it, isn't it?
Yes.
On that one?
Yes, sir.
John. All right, City Council agenda, 65th City Council, call to order. Consent agenda is approve the minutes of the City Council retreat held on August 14th of 2020. Approve the minutes of the City Council meeting held on April 6th of 2021. And approve Resolution 2021-11 accepting the CARES Act grant number 3-40-0036- whatever and the Airport Coronavirus Response Grant Program grant for the Guthrie Edmond Regional Airport and authorize the mayor to execute the respective grant agreements as the sponsor's authorized representative.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous. Discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2021-15 adopting the terms and conditions of the USDA Rural Development Community Facilities Grant Agreement as presented and authorize the mayor to execute the grant agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous. Request comments from members of the City Council. Do we really need to go through this part of the city?
I got nothing.
Anybody? Okay. Then we're adjourned. Let's move on to the 66th City Council. Is there anything ahead of that?
And we'll pause.
We got
swearing in.
You got to swear us in.
Okay.
You gotta swear in.
Which means it's me, you, and Tracy.
We could have people that are going to be sworn here, please. I'll administer the oath. You repeat after me, please. And raise your right hand. Thank you. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and will discharge my duties
and will discharge my duties
of my office with fidelity,
of my office with fidelity,
that I have not paid
that I have not paid
or contributed either directly or indirectly
or contributed either directly or indirectly
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
to procure my nomination
to procure my nomination
or election or appointment,
or election or appointment,
except for necessary and proper expenses
except for necessary and proper expenses
expressly authorized by law,
expressly authorized by law,
that I have not knowingly violated
that I have not knowingly violated
any election law of the state
any election law of the state
or procured it to be done by others
or procured it to be done by others
in my behalf,
in my behalf,
that I will not knowingly receive,
that I will not knowingly receive
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law,
other than the compensation allowed by law,
and I further swear or affirm
and I further swear and affirm
that I will not receive, use, or travel
that I will not seek to use or travel
upon any free pass
on any free pass
or on free transportation
or on free transportation
during my term of office.
during my term of office.
Congratulations.
And now we'll call to order our May 4th, 2021 Guthrie Public Works Authority meeting. Community announcements and recognitions. I don't have anything. Get back here. Consent agenda is approve the awarding bid number 2021-01 grass management services to Tenny Maker and Richard Martin, Guthrie, Oklahoma, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. You were in favor?
No, I'm just about 3 gears behind you.
All right, I will adjourn that and call to order our city council meeting, 66th city council meeting, the very first one. Consent agenda is approve the CPI amendment to property lease agreement for Hangar 9, Pegasus Property LLC. And B is approve a contract with the YMCA of Greater Oklahoma City and Guthrie YMCA for operation of a municipal swimming pool for the 2021 season. Approve resolution 2021-13, amending the agreement establishing OMAG.
I'd like to point out one thing before you vote on the consent agenda that wasn't maybe crystal clear. The YMCA proposed in the past, it's been a $3 admission fee, and they proposed to change it to $5, and that's the same as their other YMC branches at Chickasha and Bethany. I just want to make sure you all are aware of that before you vote.
Okay. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous. Discussion of possible action of approving managed print service lease agreement with the ImageNet for citywide lease and maintenance services for multifunctional devices commencing on May 14th of 2021 with the non-appropriation clause as required by Oklahoma statute and allow the mayor to execute the contract.
So moved.
This is the same managed services you've had in the past, right?
Yeah, we do this this will be our second time to switch companies to go with the lowest bid, the lowest and best, and they are also on the state contract.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous. Number 4, discussion and possible action on a request to approve resolution 2021-14, removing the declaration pursuant to resolution 2021-04 of a certain structure at 1502 West Cleveland as dilapidated and dangerous, and finding it no longer considered detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the general public for a property located at 1502 West Cleveland Avenue.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As you indicated, this is kind of a new procedure for us. Earlier this year, through your resolution, I forget, but anyway, you had designated a number of properties dilapidated. One of the things that has occurred is we have a property that has, a person is wanting to actually rehabilitate, make it habitable. But unfortunately, with the lien that designates it's dilapidated, the bank won't loan any money on it. So it's kind of a catch-22 where we don't want to necessarily just release it and then we get in a situation where they just don't do anything. But at the same time, we understand that, you know, there's money that could otherwise be there that they can't get. So one of the things staff did is looked at an alternative, and alternative was basically to have them kind of give us some assurance that they're going to move forward. So what we did is had them do a scope of work that would outline exactly what needed to be done to make it habitable. Also submit some building plans to also kind of support that scope of work, and then also a letter from the bank saying, yeah, the money's there to do it. So the applicant has done all of that in that. So we feel that this is a way where, again, he's gone to the extent to where it's likely going to happen. Worst case scenario, we can always come back and, you know, designate it again. In this particular case, I don't think that's going to happen. So again, the action before you would be to approve the resolution, which then would direct the city clerk to release the lien of dilapidation, which then would allow the applicant to move forward with the loan and get the house fixed up. The applicant is here if you have any questions of him, but otherwise that's all I have for that.
Motion to approve.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Oh, it's unanimous. Number 5, discussion and possible action on a request for a special use permit for exceptions to Article 5, Section 6, subsection 6.2C of the City of Guthrie Zoning Code, Division Street and Noble Avenue, Commercial Quarter Architectural Design Standards, to allow for the front facade of a building to have less than 60% red brick and the overall design exceed 20% secondary materials, which would be wood, for a building property located at 2325 East Oklahoma Avenue per PC application number 21-002.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is one of those things where when we did the design standards, we were wanting to make sure that there was a way in which designs that we are going to like or that would be acceptable but wouldn't exactly fit code would have a process to go through. And essentially that's where we are today with this. It's for the proposed Starbucks there on Oklahoma, right at Oklahoma and Cimarron. And as you indicated in the introduction, it didn't quite fit perfectly into the 60% because it actually has two fronts, both Oklahoma and Cimarron, and then also the 20%, which is a secondary material wood. However, the elevations were provided, as you'll see, it's about, I think, 60 or 70% total brick and the rest is wood. And the overall design is good. Staff recommended approval of it. The Planning Commission recommended approval 4-0. So at this point, it's to you for your decision and if you have any questions.
So moved.
Is that kind of like what they build in all the other ones right now?
Actually, this is probably going to be unique to Guthrie because it's better than what's mostly around here.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Unanimous. Number 6, discussion and possible action on a request for a rezone of a property located at 221 North 2nd, the Business District, per PC application number 21-003.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Again, this is a rezone. This is down the street, the bowling alley. It's currently Zone C2. In the comprehensive plan, it designated a lot of those properties, the bowling alley to the east, even by stables and a lot of those. In fact, it went even across in this district. So any type of religious or church use would only be allowed through a special use permit and no longer allowed as outright by code.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. City Manager's report.
I think I've talked enough tonight.
All right, James, do you have any comments?
None.
Ron?
No, sir.
Jeff?
Nope.
No?
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Mr. Williams.
congratulations to Tracy.
I know it takes a lot of hard work to get here, but it's not near what you're gonna, the getting here ain't near as hard as staying here, trust me. But
it's the money, right?
yeah, it's all about the money.
And the pledge, that's the only hard part you have to do. So, anyway, I guess that's it, guys. The meeting is adjourned.
There you go. Hit that a little harder.
Careful, you crack the table.
Correct.
Man.